All right, hi, I'm Bailey Bloom,
I'm Sebastian Miner.
and this is our code walkthrough video. So we're doing Tab Space as our final project, which is like a social networking program for computer science majors, basically. Uh-oh, I'm so sorry. So if I run Tab Space, um, you'll say, "Welcome to Tab Space, a social networking program for computer science nerds." Kind of a main screen. I'll ask you what you want to do. So I can log in here. I just enter my username and my password, and everyone's password is just their username right now. And it'll take you to this kind of home screen that'll ask you what you want to do. So you can view or edit your profile. You can view or add friends. You can view your friend requests. You can view other people's profiles, and you can send and view messages. So, for example, if I want to view my own personal profile, it'll show my username and then also various fields that I've filled out. So, like my favorite text editor, my favorite data structure, favorite shell, favorite OS, etc. Um, and these basically we randomly generated for everyone using this JSON file. So we wrote a program called generate.py that Sebastian will talk about in a little bit that generates these user profiles for everyone randomly using, like, for example, like a list of causes, a list of editors that we came up with. So this is just a huge JSON file that shows everyone in our systems programming classes where it's from. And then it just has all the fields randomly kind of filled in. So that's how we use that to kind of test our, adding friends, sending messages, etc. So yeah, I can hit enter to go back to the home screen. I can edit my profile. So, like, for example, if I want to change my favorite text editor from Vim to, say, Nano, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if I did, I can enter 0 and set my favorite editor as Nano. Hit enter, and it'll say the field's been successfully updated. And then I can say done. And then if I go to view my profile now, you can see that my favorite text editor was set to Nano. If I want to view my friends, for example, I think I only have one friend right now, which is JHL9. And then I can go back to the home screen. If I want to add a friend, then you can see here we have a percent similar function that kind of compares different fields. So, like, if I had the same favorite text editor as someone else, that would count a certain amount into how similar we are. And this is something that we're still kind of working on to implement, but this is, a rough version of it right now. But if I want to add someone to my friends list, I could say yes, and I could add, say, Sebastian. So I'd say S minor, and it would send him a friend request. I could say no, that's it. Take me back to the home screen here. Um, and then, for example, let's say if Sebastian wanted to log in, I can log out, run tab space again. I can log in as Sebastian here, um, go to his account. As you can see, it is S Miner's account here. And I can view my friend request. So if I view my request, you can see that he has a request now from bblue1. He can accept it by saying yes, and it will say he's been successfully added to my friends list. He can then go to view friends, and he will see that I'm now on his friends list. Other than that, you can view and send messages as well, which is kind of a similar thing to the friend request, except it kind of shows up as like your username and then the message. So, like, I can send a message right now to, let's say Sebastian wants to send a message to bbloom1. He can say hello. It'll send the message, and then again, if I then log out as Sebastian, sign in as myself, I can say bbloom1, log in, view my messages, and S minor will have said hello at the top of the list. So that's kind of an overview of what you can do on tab space so far. I'm going to pass this on to Sebastian. He's going to talk about the hashing function that you can see we implemented here to kind of encrypt everyone's passwords.
So the pass hash file is pretty much just a mashup of uh, hash functions that we briefly talked about in lecture. So it takes a password uh, and it separates the password into chunks of 4 characters each, and it applies a different type of hashing function to each of those chunks. So the first thing it does is it pads the password. So if the length of the password isn't divisible by 4, it'll add the appropriate amount of spaces to it. So the length would be divisible by 4. And then it loops through the password and For any characters from 0 through 3, it'll apply this first hash function. For the next 4 characters, it'll apply this next one, and so on. And then it'll, for after goes through all 4 types of hashing functions, it'll loop back to the first one if the password is longer than 16 characters. So this was mainly just done through some trial and error, testing a few different types of hash functions and running a bunch of different passwords through them and seeing if it gives us a nice randomized result. And the next file I want to talk about is generate.py, which we use to create a lot of new profiles just at random. So this simply uses these lists of editors that you can choose from, structures you can choose from, and it just takes every net ID from a file that we have that contains everyone's net IDs from our class. For every net ID, it will assign a random attribute for each field, and then it spits out a JSON at the end that we can use to that we can put in the database.
So yeah, kind of going back to this database real quick. So if I were to go and when I log out of TabSpace here, every time I log out, it re-updates the database. So for example, if I just reconnect to to Adam here, and I show the new database. Sorry, if I open it, let me open it again. If I open new database now and go to it, you'll see that if I scroll down to my own profile, which is, where is BB in the alphabet? BB, here, I can see that it updates with the messages. Here you can see S miners message hello, and S miners added as a friend. So it updates every time you log out. It'll update and go into this JSON file. And then some other things that we need to work on from now on is we're working on building a visual representation of our graph, kind of our network of friends. So that's something we need to do still. Besides that, we're working on our mutual friends list. And yeah, that is TabSpace so far.